Yo, what is up, boys? It is your boy Xehther here, back at it again with another video. This, of course, being what if Deku could access the 8 gates? And I know, boys, you guys are probably wondering, yo, Xehther, dude, why are you dropping this overdone what if? Now, the reason that I'm making this is because I feel like I have to do it right. Every single person that has done this what if just has a really bad mic. They mess up the story halfway along the way, or they simply never finish the video. So I feel like I should be the one to do it the right way and hit you guys with this absolute banger. And I know you're looking at that thumbnail art and you're just like, yeah, that clean. Yeah. No, but seriously though, make sure you guys go get your snacks, tell a friend to tell another friend. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so where our story is actually all going to start off is the day that Deku was told he's quirkless. Deku would of course be going on his way to the quirk doctor after a while of not actually finding out whether he does or does not have a quirk. Deku would basically just be going to the doctor's office with hopeful eyes, just wishing that please, please, please let me have a quirk. As Deku would of course arrive at the quirk doctor, and the quirk doctor would of course tell him that, yeah, you see this pinky toe joint, you know, all that usual stuff about the pinky toe. Honestly, to me, that seems like a bunch of bogus, and I think that the quirk doctor actually stole his quirk. It's just, you know, a little conspiracy or whatever, but, you know. No, but all seriousness, though, Deku would proceed to be told that he's quirkless, and after this, Deku would go back to school, as he would proceed to get bullied by Bakugo, being told that he's useless, and Bakugo would call Midoriya a Deku. He would tell him that, well, he's useless, and that's the name that he gives people who are useless, as Bakugo would spend the next couple of months essentially just calling Deku that, and after a certain day, Deku would just say, "I'm not useless!" Sakura reference. Anyways, but no, but seriously though, Deku would look at Bakugo and say, "I'm not useless. And I can be just as strong as you someday, Bakugo. You'll see." As he would run away, you know, just crying and rubbing his face as he's just trying to get the tears to go away. Deku would get home, and this is when he would tell his mom that he wants to get strong to help him. She would basically look at Deku and she would say that, well, I mean, I guess she could put him into karate, so maybe they could stop bullying him. And Deku would say that, yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, put me into karate. As Deku would of course be taken to a little karate class, and this is when Deku would attend it for a couple of months. But after, you know, or actually no, sorry, not attend it for a couple of months, but Deku would go there the first day, and after he basically tells the instructor that he's quirkless, the guy there would basically just tell Deku that this is not a smart idea. Since you're quirkless, you can get hurt by kids here who are actually allowed to use their quirks in these karate matches. It's pretty helpful, seeing as, you know, we have to stop pretending that people aren't born with quirks. So my dojo is, well, it's made for people with quirks, so I'm afraid you can't join. As Deku would just be crushed by this realization, he would just think that, well, I guess that's it. But, you know, Deku, before he left, he would just see a couple of things that the students did. They would throw punches and kicks. And after seeing that stuff, Deku would basically get home, as he would ask his mom if he could get on the computer. He'd basically get on the computer and he'd look up his little All Might video as always, as he would then proceed to go online and look up how to get strong, as it would immediately show up a bunch of workout routines. Deku would look at each one, and he would then proceed to look at it and say, I'm gonna do this, but twice as hard. If I'm gonna catch up to people with quirks, I need to work twice as hard. People like them are gifted with that, but I'm gonna work even harder than them, and someday I'll be even more powerful than all of them. As Deku would proceed to essentially just get up after that, and he would ask his mom if he could basically go to his room now, and, you know, he doesn't want to be here no more. As she would say that, of course, Deku would go out to eat some dinner, and he would then go inside of his room, as he would proceed to basically say, okay, I'm gonna throw 100 punches, 100 kicks, and I'm gonna try to do a push-up. As Deku of course knows what the push-ups and sit-ups are, seeing as, you know, he's in preschool, but, you know, PE doesn't stop when you're in preschool, so, you know, your boy definitely know what that is. So Deku would proceed to say, I'm gonna throw 100 punches, as he would begin to throw 100 punches with each arm. And he would then kick 100 times, as Deku would then proceed to do that every day for about a month, until Deku finally decided that he's gonna ramp up the training to 300 punches and 300 kicks. And if he cannot do that, then it's 200 sit-ups. No, I'm just kidding, he's a little kid, but seriously though, if he cannot do that, then it's 20 sit-ups or 40. Yeah, 40 sit-ups, as Deku would continue just doing this for the next couple of days. He would proceed to basically try to do this training regimen that he had basically created for himself, and he would just keep training for the next couple of years. He would do Rock Lee's training. Every day he would run on the track of their school, stay after school, throw a bunch of punches and kicks, and he would even ask his dad, Hisashi, to take him to the gym with him anytime that he can and show him how to, do some basic exercises. As Hisashi would of course do that, he has a fire quirk, so I believe, he's obviously not going to be weak if you got a fire quirk. He's a fire breather, come on now. Natsu, come on. You gotta be powerful. But no, all jokes aside though, through the years, Deku would just continue doing this type of training. Every day you would see Deku sweating profusely, as he would be throwing 1,000 punches, 1,000 kicks, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 lunges, squats, everything. And Deku would just continue doing this, keeping this cycle for, well, as long as he can physically keep it up. He would train every day nonstop, and he would eat meals that would help him out with, his training regimen. And this is when Deku would actually decide that he's going to get into some boxing classes. He would make sure that this time, they're not made for only people with quirks. So years would pass by, and at this point, Deku would be 10 years old as he would enter a boxing gym. He would go in there to work out, and as soon as he enters, he would proceed to get dominated by the kids who have been there for years. But for the people who have only been there for a couple months, Deku would do a great job. And he would actually be able to catch one of the kids who was actually training for years, actually, at this point, one good solid punch, which would have actually led that kid to drop down to the ground. But if it wasn't for the fact that Deku, threw his guard down, he probably would have won that battle. So the gym instructor saw a lot of potential in him, regardless of him being quirkless. So yeah, Deku would proceed to train with him for a couple of days, or no, for the next couple of months, and Deku would just keep up with his training regimen. He would proceed to just keep doing boxing, and he would try to get back into that karate dojo, where he would meet a certain somebody. This certain somebody would of course be Tailboy, or Ojiro, as he would meet him, and he's one of the people who actually attends the karate dojo. Deku would go inside and he would meet Tailboy, and this is when Deku would proceed to essentially go up to him, and he would actually have to fight him in order to get into the karate place, seeing as, well, if you want to get in here, you're gonna have to beat my best student. So Deku would do it, and of course he would be able to defeat Ojiro with ease. As Deku would go on in there, he would take down the top student, and after this, Deku would be allowed to go in there. So he would spend about a year in there in that class, and he would actually end up mastering all of the skills, as he would end up leaving, and by this point, Deku would be 10 years old. He would continue to do the Rock Lee type training, and Deku would just keep continuously getting stronger and stronger. At this point, Deku would be 10 years old, and he'd be about half as strong as Weightless Lee, as it's at this point that Deku finally implements the weighted training. He would get weighted clothes, and he would buy himself some little wristbands or whatever, the things that Deku has in his hands in the thumbnail. Pretty much he gets some of those, but kind of the way that Rock Lee has them, the bandages, right? Put bandages on his knuckles and just punch the wall 1,000 times. It would get to the point where he was actually able to smash trees. With one kick he could drop a whole big tree. Like, now I'm not talking these little oak trees, I'm talking about giant old, like big old trees. Like these trees are no joke. Like, I mean, it's a tree, but they probably are a joke, but you get what I mean. What I mean essentially is that Deku's pretty strong. Can kick a whole tree down. That takes a lot of strength. So yeah, Deku obviously pretty powerful. So yeah, that being said, Deku would proceed to keep up with this training for 2 more years, as at this point Deku would be 14 years old. And this is when Deku would basically wonder how he can get any stronger, since at this point he basically hit a slope, and he was wondering if maybe by now he finally caught up to Bakugo. the thing that he was always aspiring to reach. Deku would walk into the cafeteria as Bakugo would basically walk by Deku, and he would basically like give him a snarl, as he would say, and he would then walk by him as he bumps Deku's shoulder and feels that Deku's actually, his body feels strong. He's really covered up since the uniform that they have to wear covers up most of the physical body that they have. I mean, look at Bakugo. He's ripped, but in his little school uniform, he really didn't look that strong. So yeah, Deku would have a similar effect, but he'd look a little bigger than Bakugo. And Deku would be extremely lean and ripped. He'd be abnormally ripped. He'd be literally looking like the Deku in the thumbnail, just a little bit less mass. And yeah, Deku would be looking fire. So yeah. Deku would basically proceed to essentially just ask Bakugo what that was for. And Bakugo would turn around with his explosion quirk as he would say, "What? You want to do about it, you quirkless Izuku? You quirkless Deku, sorry." As, you know, Deku would basically look at him and say, "Yeah, I do want to do something about it. How about we have a little bit of a training session, Bakugo? Let's see if you can still treat me like your little punching bag." As Bakugo would smile and say, "Looks like you finally grew a pair. When and where, I'll be there." As Deku would say, "How about we go to that abandoned junkyard? It's about a mile away." As Bakugo would say, "Sure thing. Make sure you don't wuss out." As Deku would say, "I wouldn't dream of it." He would then proceed to look at Bakugo, and Bakugo would give him a little smirk, and he would then blast explosions in his hand as he would clap his hands and say, "You're dead." As he would proceed to basically go through with the rest of the day of school, Deku would be calming himself down and, you know, trying to calm down his nerves. As he's nervous. I mean, he's always looked up to Bakugo regardless of, you know, where he was at. And he saw Bakugo was a genius. To him, Bakugo was the goal that he has to achieve. So yeah, Deku would basically proceed to go over to where Bakugo's at. And at this point, Deku is 14 years of age. And he's about 75% as strong as the Lee was that we got in the tuning exams. He'd be pretty powerful at this point in his own right, but, you know, tuning exam Rock Lee is absolutely insane. So I can't get him quite there just yet. And yes, boys, I know some of you guys may be like, "Yo, dude, stop weakening this man Deku." Listen, I'm doing it for the story. Like, trust me, it's worth it in the end once you see where I'm going with this. But yeah, Deku would proceed to basically meet Bakugo at the abandoned warehouse. And this is when Bakugo would say, "So you ready, Deku?" As he'd actually be alone. He wouldn't have even brought his friends. And Deku would look at Bakugo as he would say, "Of course I am." As he'd basically get into his fighting position and throw off his shirt. As Deku would be wearing nothing but some black pants and the wrist and the bandages on his hands. As Deku would immediately, before Bakugo can even react, Deku would just blitz him and kick him right on the side of the head, sending him flying in the way that Rock Lee had done to Sasuke. Bakugo would then get up really startled, and Deku would be right in front of him as he kicks him up into the air in a sort of, you know, the Hidden Lotus. He would proceed to basically scream, "Hidden Lotus!" as he would jump into the air, and he'd then grab Bakugo with his bandages as he wraps him up and then proceeds to go down as he slams Bakugo down onto the concrete. And Bakugo is just completely knocked out. Blood is coming off of his head as Deku then proceeds to see Bakugo like that, and he would then just run away from the area. As Bakugo would wake up a few hours later, he would then wonder what happened, as he would then get a flashback to Deku just knocking this man straight on his ASS. This man completely ate SHIT. I don't know if I can even say that without, you know, losing my my moonie that I'm gonna make from this video, because YouTube do be liking to do that though. But no, seriously though, he'd basically realize how far he's come after landing that kick on his way home. He'd be running, and he would decide that maybe he's even stronger than what he thought. As that same night, Deku would decide that that battle didn't really give him any experience that he wanted. So Deku would decide that maybe it's time to try to do a little bit of vigilanteism. As Deku would proceed to basically smile, thinking that yes, this is going to be amazing. And Deku, for the next couple of months, would basically go out at night with a black hoodie, some black pants, and, you know, some black Air Forces, because he's dangerous. And he would also wear a mask, a hockey mask. as he would run out, and he would basically use nothing but his hand-to-hand combat to take out a bunch of villains. This would basically be going on for about 7 months at this point, and Deku would have been taking down villains after villain after villain. Deku would be very smart with what he does, and Deku would not leave any traces for anybody to find him. He would take down villains, petty thieves, very basic small shots for a while. And on the rare occasion, he would run into some gangs who had really powerful quirks, but in terms of Deku's speed and strength overall, he would definitely be able to take them all out. But it's on one particular day that Deku's actually trying to basically walk by some store right after he basically got out of school. He'd be wearing a school uniform. He would then see a guy with some orange hair who looks very powerful, actually, as Deku would see that this guy basically just mugged the store owner. And right after seeing that, Deku would basically run out of there. As he'd go into an abandoned alleyway, he would then proceed to throw on a hoodie, the mask, and he would then just basically proceed to run after the guy. It would be about 6 at this point, and Deku would have actually ended up losing him. He didn't know at all where he was, and a hero would have actually spotted Deku. As he saw what was going on, he would go up to Deku and ask him what he's doing. Deku would basically say that he's playing Jason Voorhees with his friends, the Jason guy, the guy from the movie. As he would look at Deku and he'd basically say, "All right, kid, go on home. There's been a vigilante wearing an outfit similar to that. You don't want to be caught in that, or else you might get, wrongly accused." As Deku would give him a genuine smile and say, "Thank you so much," as he'd basically proceed to go away. And this is when Deku that same night would go out with a different mask this time. He'd be wearing like a monkey mask, like the one in GTA. Yeah, that one right there. I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to have it in the gameplay. So if you guys just look at the gameplay, for the video, you guys should be able to see the GTA, the stuff. But yeah, that being said though, Deku would be wearing that as he would go out, and he would then proceed to basically just be walking around, wandering the areas. As he'd be walking near a bank, and this is when Deku would basically just be rooftop to rooftop, just jumping around with one arm, doing training as he's also looking for villains. He would see the same guy that he saw a couple of days, that same day, and he would then see that the guy was actually was putting something on the doors of the bank. As immediately the door would just explode, and the man would then run in there with about 3 other guys. As they would run into the bank, they would then start grabbing all of the money. As Deku, as soon as he sees that, he would run at top speeds over there, basically body flickering there. As he would then say, "Hey, put that down!" And Wolfram, yes, Wolfram, the villain from the first My Hero Academia movie, would turn around as he aims his attention to Deku and blasts him with a piece of metal that would actually go deep into Deku's leg. He was caught off guard. Deku would then be punched by one of his teammates who actually had the knife quirk, and Deku would then fall onto the ground as he would get a couple of scratches. And that is actually where he would get the scar that is in the thumbnail. If you guys can see all those little scars that Deku has on his chest and forearm, stuff like that, yeah, that's from this battle. As a guy would cut him, Deku would start bleeding out a little bit, but Deku would then jump back into battle as he would decide that he's not going to be taken out this easily. This isn't how it ends. As he would then say that this is gonna end before it can even start. As immediately Deku would rip out the piece of metal that was jabbed into his leg. He would then proceed to blitz towards the guy with the weird razor sharp arms quirk, and he would then knock him out with a swift kick to the back of the head. He would then turn around as he flips over the other guy and says, "Leave Hurricane!" As he would then send the guy crashing straight through the wall. This is when heroes would start getting alerted, and Deku would realize that he needs to make this quick. As Wolfram would shoot his metal pieces right at Deku, Deku would jump over, barely missing it, and he would then run after his other teammate, the last one that is. He would then grab him and shove him right into his knee. He would literally grab him by the head and just BAM! Smash him with his knee in the head. As he would then rush towards Wolfram, and he would begin to use his metal manipulation to basically push the metal right at Deku, and this would actually constrict Deku's movements. He wouldn't be able to move, and this is when Deku would basically have Wolfram walk up to him as he would say, "You almost stopped me, kid, but you were too little too late." As this is when he would then proceed to create a giant piece of metal. As it would lunge straight at Deku, the piece would come in and it would be right about to smash Deku. As immediately, Deku would just think that it's not over. It's not over! as he would immediately proceed to basically activate the first gate, as Deku's arm would wiggle a little bit and he would break his arm free as he would punch the metal piece right away from him. He would then break himself out of there and he would blitz right at Wolfram as he sends him hurling with the Leaf Hurricane right at the wall. And right as he does that, Wolfram would fly into the air. Deku would say, "Hidden Lotus!" He would grab him in the air and he would slam him right into the concrete as he is down for the count. Deku, after looking at his injuries, would decide that he needs some attention right now, as Deku would immediately rush back home and he would then grab his first aid kit as he begins to treat himself, since he had basically looked up how to do this. Since this wasn't his first rodeo, Deku definitely knew how to treat his wounds that he had, because, you know, as I said, this isn't the first time that Deku had tried it. So yeah, Deku would go home and he would actually not come out for the next 2 weeks or so, since it took a while to heal those injuries. Deku would then get up after all that time and he would then proceed to start his training once again. During that time, he couldn't really use his leg. He would have done mostly exercising on his arm with bandages on his leg to stop the bleeding, of course. Now, Deku, after realizing that like he got like a major boost, he would wonder if maybe he's some sort of late bloomer, as he would try to go to the quirk office again and they would again tell Deku that he is quirkless. So he would begin to scour the internet for anything that he can find related to what had happened. Maybe it was just an adrenaline rush, but he feels like it was something more. So Deku would proceed to basically try looking up anything and everything that he basically can to see what's going on. He doesn't understand what happened, but it's so mesmerizing. Like he did something that he never thought his body could do. He would then come across a website, a strange, weird one at that, and he would then read what it says. 8 inner gates. Deku would click on the website as he would then begin to read up on the 8 inner gates. And if you guys don't know what the 8 gates are, it's basically something from Naruto that are basically gates that all the characters have within them. And also, in case you guys are wondering, yes, Deku does have chakra. He's just like Rock Lee though, and he doesn't know how to use it. So yeah, he's not going to be using that chakra anytime soon. So yeah, Deku would proceed to basically read up on the 8 inner gates and he would understand what he had done. The gates all consist of, well, 8 gates. The first one being the gate of opening. It basically is located in the brain, and essentially what it does is it can basically make you use 100% of your muscles and your strength, whereas, you know, normally people can only use 20%. The gate of healing, it basically increases the strength. The gate of life, the gate of pain, the gate of limit, the gate of view, the gate of wonder, and the gate of death. After reading up on the gate of death, Deku would realize that that's something he definitely does not want to do, because yeah, I could definitely from what he can see here, it says do not use under any circumstances. So Deku would definitely take that warning to heart. And yeah, Deku would then proceed to essentially I said essentially way too much, but no, seriously, Deku would just proceed to basically after reading up on that, he would save the website and continue to do more research on the 8 inner gates. He would find out what they are and he would start training to try to unlock these. As it'd be about 3 months, and at this point Deku would be 15 years old, as this is the day of the Sludge villain. Deku would walk into class, as right before he can, Bakugo and his goons would surround him. And Bakugo would look at Deku as he would say, "Hey, I want my rematch." Deku would look at Bakugo as he would say, "Well, I'm kind of busy after school today, Bakugo. Can we maybe do that tomorrow?" As Bakugo would say, "There's no way you're gonna tell me when and where I can't do something. We're doing this tonight." As after that loss to Deku, Bakugo has definitely been training harder than ever before. He was doing the same thing as Deku, basically working himself to the breaking point, since he knew that Deku was far superior to him. He had done stuff similar to Sasuke, and at this point Bakugo was extremely powerful, or not stronger than Deku by any means, but he was definitely stronger than, you know, what he was before. At this point, Deku has full mastery over the first gate, the gate of opening though, and Deku would definitely be using that later on. So yeah, the teacher would walk into class, tell everybody that he knows they all want to become heroes, and this is when he would basically let them all go home. As Deku would basically run away from that area where Bakugo was supposed to meet him, and he'd basically walk under the tunnel. As this is when the Sludge villain would basically jump jump up at Deku, but this version of Deku would barely be able to avoid it as he would say, ah! He would jump away from it as he would say, give me your body, kid. And Deku would look at the Sludge Villain as he would say, never! Get away from me, you weirdo! As the Sludge Villain would try to come at Deku, Deku would say, leave Hurricane! As he would shoot a giant gust of wind that would basically send the Sludge Villain flying, and he would basically disperse it into different pieces along the way. As Deku would immediately just basically jump away and say that you had enough. As the Sludge Villain would get up and say, yeah, Deku would then say, gate, first gate, open. As he would look towards the Sludge Villain and say, leave Hurricane. He would proceed to basically kick at the Sludge Villain as the Sludge Villain would proceed to disperse everywhere. Deku would then pick it up with the bottle, and this is when All Might would arrive out of nowhere. All Might would arrive and see what Deku had done, as he would then thank him, and Deku would fanboy, of course, getting All Might's autograph, and All Might would leave without Deku asking him if he can become a hero, seeing as Deku doesn't need the acknowledgement of All Might to know he can do what he can do. He's gonna prove it to himself. He doesn't need to prove it to anybody else but himself, that somebody just like him can be a hero, and he's been doing vigilante work, so he knows he can do it. So yeah, Deku would proceed to essentially just be walking home. As on the way home, Bakugo and his goons would have caught up to Deku, and they would tell Deku that they're going to fight now. As both of his goons would rush at Deku, Deku would immediately look at them as he immediately blitzes them both and just knocks them out. They are out cold. And after that, Bakugo would blitz at Deku as he uses his explosion quirk to blast at the floor. He jumps into the air as he says, AP shot! As he would shoot a bunch of shots at Deku, Deku would basically proceed to spin in the air as he would jump into the air and he would say gate of opening as he would immediately rush at Bakugo as Bakugo and Deku would basically go at it. Bakugo would be able to dodge about the first 5 hits, but Deku would land another 20 on Bakugo. But Bakugo's resistance definitely went up since he had his goons trained with him, and he had them mercilessly beat this man since he wanted to go, build up his resistance to damage. So yeah, Bakugo's resistance to hits is much higher than our original counterpart of Bakugo. And don't worry, boys, Bakugo's really not that powerful in terms of the grand scheme of things. He's about as strong as a season 3 Bakugo, but just pretty durable and physically stronger. It's really not that much of a difference, honestly, but yeah, he's aight. He's aight, He's at around current anime point Bakugo. Yeah, current anime point Bakugo. The one that, saved all the wallets and all that stuff. Yeah, so Bakugo is pretty powerful. So yeah, Bakugo would basically blitz towards Deku. And this is when Deku would immediately kick Bakugo away from him, as he would proceed to take his leg weights off. As after that, the leg weights would drop onto the ground, cracking the concrete. And after seeing that, Bakugo would be caught off guard so hard that Deku would have a perfect opening to blitz right at this man and send this man crashing to the ground as he would proceed to eat, what the word is, eat shit. Yeah, he would eat that as Bakugo would get knocked out instantly. And Deku would run off home, as this is when Deku would begin the 10 months of training. But if you guys want to see what happens during the 10 months of training, make sure you guys smash the absolute living hell out of that like button, seeing as I'm going to be needing 500 likes if you guys want the next part. And if you guys don't, actually no, 500 is a little too high. I'm going to be needing 300 likes, and I will be continuing the entire series during these next couple of days. So yeah, guys, that being said, you guys know the drill. It has been your boy. Wait. I actually have a couple announcements. Number 1, I'm actually going to be starting a channel with 3 other What If YouTubers. We're going to make our own We the Celestials channel, but it's going to be better. So I hope you guys are ready for that. And as soon as that channel's up and going and I drop my first video on that, I will drop a link to that as soon as I possibly can. But yeah, me, Rogue X, Phoenix Sanin, and Izukage are all going to be creating a big 4-people channel where we're all going to be dropping videos for each and every single one of our fan base members. So yeah, y'all better be hyped since these videos are going to be slappers, and I hope you guys are ready for the next video that's to come, which is obviously going to be part 2 to this series. So yeah, with that being said though, guys, this is now officially going to be the end to What If Deku could access the 8 inner gates, or what is this video called? Yeah, what if Deku could access the 8 inner gates, or something like that, or what if Deku could use the 8 inner gates, right? Yeah, same thing. But yeah, That being said though, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to go down below, hit that like button, report your attendance. But with that being said though, guys, I don't want to waste your guys' time too much. I love you all. It has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.